Hello, dear listeners. Episode 25 of Nightfall will get started here on Dice Punks in just a moment. First, a quick note. When we were recording this, I was suffering from COVID, which ended up being compounded by just some kind of mic problems and stuff that didn't go detected until we had the recordings in the can. So, we had to edit around things like me coughing and blowing my nose a lot, and there was some issues with the levels and sound quality. So we've done our best. We're trying to get better with the editing all the time, but this is sadly another one of those that hopefully it won't distract you, but just a quick disclaimer about, this being a little bit of a project to get out to you guys, but I do hope you enjoyed. I think there's a lot of good stuff in here. On with the show. Hello and welcome to Dice Punks, a tabletop role-playing podcast where we focus on playing full campaigns in less well-known systems. This week in episode 25, our nobilis and their allies try to overcome what stands between them and the defense of Theret. Hello and welcome. I'm Adam, your friendly neighborhood game master, and joining me are...
Hi, I'm Drew, and I'll be playing Dusktear, the handsomest weapon of mass destruction you ever did see.
I'm Robin, and I'll be playing Lissa, the rundown but still risque Duchess of Fury.
I'm Dez, and I'll be playing Romnet, companion and brains behind the most wondrous weapon of mass destruction you ever did see.
Relationship.
In every relationship, one is a weapon of mass destruction,
and the other one knows where to
the
point
brains
them.
behind them.
If you've never been with a weapon of mass destruction, then I must inform you.
I think that's a line unto itself.
Yeah.
We're off to a roaring start. Thank you, guys. So at this time, we're at the part of the show where we decide if we're doing any character stat growth and get Romnet's roll for bonus XP.
So that is a pair of 9.
That sounds like an experience point to me. So it sounds like we might have some XP expenditures here.
I am at... I cannot scroll through this to save my life right now.
I'm glad your life doesn't depend on it then.
Yeah, I'm very happy my life does not depend on my ability to use a PDF. Otherwise, I'd be unalived pretty quickly.
There'd be no people left on Earth.
Yeah, if your ability to survive was based on operating a PDF or putting a USB drive in the right way the first time.
This is a Twilight Zone episode.
So, I should be there, but somehow I'm having to... Oh, yeah, there it is. So I have 5 experience points, mortal experience points, which should be enough to purchase myself the final tier of Unyielding Way, which is Victorious Submission, and I'll probably come up with a different name for that. But effectively, by purchasing that, I cannot be pinned, slammed, tripped, tackled, choked unless I consent, restrained, shoved, placed in a submission hold. Any attempt to use these maneuvers on you simply fails, and the set from the attack pool is wasted. The effects of Victorious Submission affect me at all times, even when I'm surprised or asleep. Furthermore, Victorious Submission protects me even when I'm using another martial secret. So I'm going to go ahead and purchase that for 5 points.
Damn.
Sounds like a worthy use of 5 points.
Yes.
Any other XP expenditures this time around?
I recently upped my Drunken Monkey game, so I'm tapped on mortal stuff.
Yeah, I
now.
got scholarly
So,
insight the last time.
Going with my snake theme for the Unyielding Way, I've named this ability Victorious Constriction.
I do like that. If we don't have any further expenditures, I believe that our summary this time is courtesy of Lissa.
Thanks, Hollyhock God. I like to think of myself as a simple woman trying to make my way through the world, simply by the work of my own 2 hands. Now, I'm preparing to support a sortie to save the people of Theret. once it gets approval from a merchant council or some such. This was at a request from Uncle Melly, who is definitely playing below his league in terms of romantic pursuits. I did take an opportunity to tell Uncle Melly how proud he should be of Dosk. And he promised that he'd go easier on Dosk if I was more polite to Mima. As Mima herself would say, you could still smile through gritted teeth. Away from my knowledge, though accessible now, and only now thanks to the omnipotence of the Hollyhock god, Dosk and Romnut returned to Fermata to seek Mott's approval and speak with Ia. Ia directed them to a nobilis named Ventis, and both Mott and Ia revealed that there's still some Sturthans in Fermata. Dosk also received a really cool boon of smooth obsidian that looks partly like a blade and partly like a goblet. I'll ooh and ah adequately when I see it, having forgotten that I knew about it at all. Following the boon, there was a bit of a curse. A former fling of Romnut seemed to think that he needed protecting from some ominous them. And speaking of flings, at least even when Romnut and Dosk were doing their thing in Fermata, I was not alone and had a bit of company. Not the usual sort of company that I enjoy. Am I getting flustered? I might be getting flustered. I'm just going to give it back to you, Hollyhock God.
Well, thank you for that summary. I have one minor correction there. The individual to whom Ia directed Dosk and Romnet was named Ventis, but they are an imperator and not a nobilis. Well, that was going to be my final disclaimer before we get going, is that while I am vaccinated and it has been mild, I tested positive for COVID this morning. However, I was not going to let that stop me from getting back into the swing of it, because I am excited to be doing this again with these lovely people for you all, our listeners.
We who are about to punk salute you.
Bless you, Drew.
Amazing.
We will join our nobilis and their adventures in progress back in the square outside the manifestation in Fermata. Having exited the manifestation, Dosk and Romnet have been accosted by a former lover of Romnet's who they've met once before. This is the same fellow name of Asha, who had a note seemingly in Romnet's handwriting before setting up a meeting that such note as Romnet never did write. He is somewhat changed from then, in the same way as most Fermatans, in that he now has sort of an amphibian's frill instead of hair, but in less typical ways, in that he seems a little hollow-eyed, quite disheveled, as though he is, unraveling somewhat, in a mental sense. And we left off last time with him exclaiming to Romnet, "I'm here, I understand, and I won't let them have you."
Who's the them at issue?
He blinks a little owlishly a couple of times and says, "Why, the cultists, of course, the devotees of that monster in there. They've taken your eyes." And he starts to cry.
The first thing I think to say is, I should reiterate, I think it looks good.
All right, hang on. This is gonna be, let's see.
You're gonna have to roll for shade.
I was gonna say
Charm?
charm plus jest.
Sure. Yeah. That's
a 5-die pool for you.
2 8s.
Well done. He gets brought up short a little bit, but sort of looks at Romnet, kind of holding his silence, and then shakes his head and looks back at Dosk accusingly and says, "That's not the point, and you know it. Look at what you've done to him."
I should point out, Asha, that I am the prophet of Mott, rather of the Obsidian God, and that the office comes at certain costs and responsibilities. Note that I am not the only one around here changed. Even you are sporting a slightly different look these days.
He gives you a bewildered expression. "What are you? No, it was only after they showed up that you changed. It has to be there. You, and he gives you almost like an accusing expression. He says, "No, I understand, but this is as far as it goes." And he like turns and squares his shoulders at Dosk and says, "I know you are without honor, sir, but perhaps you are yet man enough to agree to a duel."
Oh, for fuck's sake, there will be no fucking dueling for me, my honor, or whatever. I am not a prize to be won. Thank you.
"No." He turns and whirls on you. He says, "No, you're a prisoner to be freed, and I will do so." And then he lowers his voice, and his face becomes a little softer, and he says, "Just like you asked." Turns back to Dosk. "So, what say you?"
I don't want to hurt you. And then I turn to Romnett as though to say with my eyes, do I? Do you?
A small shake of head, but like that bewildered like edge between what the fuck? And why won't this fuck not go away? Like, both of these things.
After what is perhaps an in-character silence, I turn to Romnett again and I say, let's be perfectly clear. This makes as little sense to you as it does to me. Yes? Because I have no plan to kill a man over literal nonsense. Can we help you with whatever is bothering you, sir?
Sir.
So, while this exchange between Dosk and Romnett has been going on, you haven't really like been ignoring Asha. You have taken your eyes off of him for a moment. And during this time, he has lunged toward Dosk. He seems to be brandishing something in one hand, but it is small and unclear in motion. And his trajectory is directly toward Dosk's torso. However, Dosk, you happen to be a devotee of the school of the insouciant monkey. And I am going to rule that under this circumstance, and with him not entirely managing a surprise attack here, monkey dodge comes into play. Normally this would be no penalty for adding dodge to any action, and we're basically going to slide that sideways slightly to allow you to dodge purely reactively. So if you would like to roll for me your coordination plus dodge, that's going to be 4 dice.
Sure thing. Keeping the correct number of dice in my hand for a second is probably important. That's an interesting one. That's 3 1s.
Oh. That is an interesting one, because it does mean that you do dodge in time, but kind of in the wrong direction. But it's enough to mitigate the damage that you have here. So he deals 2 shock to your torso, but your armor actually reduces that to 1 shock. That's the armor that you get from your school of the insouciant monkey. So
I
overall,
guess in text, my dodging was so drunk that it simply got me even less than it would normally.
Yeah. So this gives you the opportunity to, one, feel like kind of a badass, because this is fairly inconsequential damage, although, you're like, ow. But it also lets you see that what he has in his hand is a relatively small napped obsidian dagger with a less of a hilt and more of a handle wrapped in some kind of cloth or fiber cord. And as he sort of drives it home, which is to say delivers his glancing blow, he is like squeezing his eyes shut and gritting his teeth and seems to be sobbing. I
I try to match Romnet's tone about how there will be no duel as precisely as I can, and I say, enough. And as I do so, I assume the aspect of nothing.
Ooh, fun.
Which I'll remind the listener is different depending on who's looking, and is not nothing per se, but is whatever would render the current conflict absurd, moot, a contradiction to the rule, an exception. Yeah.
When you assume the aspect of nothing, it takes him another second to actually like open his eyes and look and see what's around him. And when he does set eyes on you, his eyes go wide kind of instantly, and he screams and turns on his heel and sprints back the way that he apparently came, only to run directly into the arms of two acolytes who collect him, very efficiently bind his hands behind his back, and pull him into the manifestation.
I have a few questions. Perhaps most urgently, is something going to be done with him that we ought prevent?
I haven't. Do I know anything
protocol?
about the enforcement of such criminal laws as this city may have?
No, it's always been kind of Yveen's remit. You do know that sometimes acolytes are used as sort of municipal bouncers, but usually only on the orders of, either Yveen or somebody to whom she has delegated that authority.
Huh.
And as far as you're aware, there's not like cells or anything in the manifestation.
Yeah, maybe we should go check that out.
Not the most pleasant person we've ever encountered, let me be clear, but I think perhaps whatever the penalty is for attempted demi-deicide, I say without with a bit of satisfaction, is probably more than he deserves.
Right, I think he needs help resolving whatever is going on more than he needs. Yes.
Have we firmly established that there's only one you?
To the best of my knowledge, there's only one me. That doesn't actually solve any of this.
No.
And it was a remarkably entertaining turn of phrase for what it's worth.
We do have fun around here. So I think we quickly see if we can catch those acolytes before they get too far into the manifestation, just to see what's going on with this guy and make sure he's not being, yeeted into the well or something.
Well, as you turn around and head through the doors behind the acolytes, they are pulling him towards the staircase down to the heart of the chancel.
A moment of a good and efficient work. Thank you. As you can see, I'm quite safe, quite sound, in one piece, more or less. So, if you would halt a moment, Timothy.
Let me see here real quick. I think that's just an unadorned command roll for 2 dice.
Oh boy. Okay. Do I'm trying to think if I have the Air of Dreadful command. Oh, that's irrelevant. That's if I'm doing. Never mind. That's a totally different thing. Don't even.
You know what?
Yeah.
Actually, I will let you do a Charm Graces for 5 dice if you'd like. It's not quite as on. Actually,
Command graces.
Sorry, I don't usually like to dither this much, but yeah, command graces for 3 dice, because you are trying to use your authority, but you're doing it in an extremely dither kind of way. So
have we met? Okay, let's do that.
3 dice for command plus graces.
That is no matches.
All right. They don't register that they have heard you at all.
What is going to be done with him?
While the 2 acolytes that are carrying him proceed toward the door, a third one sort of sweeps up to Ramnet's right shoulder and gives a small bow and says, "Having attacked the person of one of the obsidian god's own, he shall be cast into the well, and should he emerge, he will be repaired."
Well, that's terrifying.
What
That
what-
sentence,
what- what-
that little speech gets worse and worse.
What-
Okay.
How frequently do people actually emerge from the well?
The acolyte speaking to you blinks once slowly and says, "As this is the first such mortal sentenced, we shall begin keeping records forthwith."
The urge to make a well-actually joke here is frankly overwhelming.
For all of us, yes.
You held out as long as you could.
I did.
What is to be done with him? The well, actually.
So while you have been talking to this third acolyte, the two carrying him have gotten to the door and opened it, and are stepping onto the first step.
I think we physically go after them. What were you going to say?
Out of character, I'm a bit conflicted.
Sure. Well, that's, perhaps I
in
reiterate
character,
the look
I'm a bit horrified, but at the same time, like, dude is a nut job and a little bit weirdly inconvenient, but could also be clue to some, like, greater confundity. But also, like, he stabbed you.
Grazed. I don't know if you noticed, I was pretty deft in getting out of the way. I take your point. He tried to stab me. Yes, and perhaps what he needs is to be repaired after a fashion, but we may never understand what's happening in his head if his head is repaired.
If he is impaired rather than repaired, yes.
Indeed. I'm not 100% sure that the Obsidian God knows
I
the
will...
difference, or perceives one.
I mean, we'll start following, I imagine, but also I will ask him, what did you mean like I asked you to?
So by this time you are descending the stairs with the acolytes and Asha in front of you. And it seems to take Asha a moment to figure out that you're talking to him, possibly because sound behaves strangely in the stairs,
Yes.
and you may have been quite a lot quieter to him than you normally would be, but he chuckles sort of brokenly and says, "I suppose that the letters you wrote me were all a game to you. I thought you actually needed my help."
I know nothing of what you were speaking, and I wrote you no letters. This is why I'm asking. What are these letters? What happened?
Do you truly not... This might actually be a pretty good time to, let's see, roll. I think that this would be like a plead, but you don't have a skill there. And whether we pair it with
believe
knowledge or charm,
that's,
it's 2 dice.
Oh, it's just fascinating instead of graces. Damn. Romantic outlaw charm does not apply.
Yeah. Yeah, well, give us a roll of 2 dice.
Sure. Ha! Pair of 7s.
Nicely done. He dithers for a moment as he is, pulled further down the stairs, and then he says, "I guess you really don't know. Well, whoever has been writing those letters, then they've played a fine joke on us. I've been receiving letters from you since we parted. At first, they were trifling things, really, just pleasant notes to let me know that you had not forgotten me. But around the time the nobles showed up, and he can't keep the venom all out of his voice entirely, but he seems to be making an effort. The letters started to take on a dire quality. There was the one, of course, that tried to arrange a meeting. I regret having been quite so haughty at the time now, but, well, I hadn't realized the depth of... Well, I hadn't appreciated the depth of trouble the letters said that you were in. But after that, they became, well, heartbreaking, really. You said that you were being imprisoned and coerced, and that your body was no longer your own. The obsidian god was using you as a puppet, much to the entertainment of the nobles. That they had taken your eyes to make an example of you. That there was no one else you could trust.
I'm so sorry that you have been misused in this way and misled. To the best of my knowledge, none of these things are true, nor have I committed any of them to paper. To the best of my knowledge of myself, the handwriting in the note that you confronted me with the last time did indeed look quite passingly like my own. But that only means that it looked quite passingly like my own. While my eyes... I should possibly point out that my eyes are in fact still there. They are simply not visible. I've tried. I poked myself in the eye. Very first thing it was offered. But that is more a matter of advancement in magic than anything else. At this point, I will ask the Timothys if they will seek instead to find the source of the letters than merely punish a pawn. No harm was done, and perhaps the letters portend some greater ill.
The acolytes pause, and Asha, for his part, is just kind of muttering to himself somewhat inaudibly. And one of the acolytes lets go of him and turns and gives you a slight bow and says, "The appropriate punishment should be carried out, but if you can unearth whatever conspiracy was enacted to bring this about, then the conspirators can be punished appropriately." The acolyte still holding Asha sort of turns him around, and the acolyte that was speaking says, "In the meantime, at the prophet's request, we shall simply detain the assailant."
Thank you, and I will then, apologize to Asha that I cannot apparently do more.
Asha shakes his head and just says, "Well, it's a relief to know that you're all right. I suppose I just wanted badly to believe that you needed me. Thank you for intervening at any rate, but perhaps being repaired would be helpful. Clearly there is something amiss with me."
There is something amiss. It may not be with you. We will see what we can do about this. And in the meantime, for what it's worth, take care, and I will do my best to make sure that you are properly taken care of as well.
Thank you. If it helps, I've kept all of the letters. They're in my home.
Thank you. That is a marvelous help.
He nods, and the acolytes begin pulling him back up the stairs. After that relatively lengthy interval, we change over to Theret. The format of the show, I think, encourages longer crosscuts, but we'll finally now check in with Alyssa's side of things. Now, the times here will not match up perfectly, even accounting for Fermata's strange effect on time. Indeed. But, we're going to treat these things as happening pretty much simultaneously until it matters, at which point we will reconcile the timelines just fine. Now, returning to Theret. Alyssa, you wake more or less with the dawn. You're a little stiff, having fallen asleep, as it turns out, in a sort of quasi-reclining position in this inn's room, kind of wedged partway into the wall on the bed, so that your objective having apparently been to keep from jostling Apatia, who is, the size differential there is sufficient that she almost reminds you of like a cat curled up in your lap at this point. She's just kind of partway up your abdomen, and the two of you are kind of like splayed a little bit, in sleep. You know what? I'm even going to rule that Apatia has like one of her fangs just slightly overhanging her lower lip as she sleeps.
The cuteness is
Because
overwhelming.
why not? Almost as soon as you start to stir, Apatia kind of opens her eyes all at once and starts to smile at you, then yawns and kind of rolls off of you at the same time as off of the bed. And it looks like she's going to fall, but she just kind of lands on her feet and then stretches and says, "Good morning."
I first pretend like I was not moving to catch her. And then sheepishly smile and say, good morning.
I feel much better rested than usual. I imagine that's you to whom I owe my gratitude. She gives you a small bow and says, "What are our plans for today? I feel that I am mostly tagging along in this endeavor."
I don't. So the Merchant Council is meeting this evening, and beyond that, I honestly don't know. If I propose that if we're going to be going to battle, we should find something fun to do.
Oh, that sounds nice. What do you suggest?
Usually drinking, but I don't think that would be wise before the Merchant Council meeting.
I should also point out that while Uncle Melly did tell you that the decision about the sortie could be made as early as by sunset, what is now today, he did not make any indication of when the Merchants Council meeting actually starts.
Okay. I couldn't remember too if he asked me to ever make an appearance. I'm assuming not, which is smart.
He didn't mention it. That does not equal you being excused from it. Yeah.
Well, darn. That definitely rules out drinking.
Fun as that would be, as urgently as I feel the desire to explore a scene in which Apatia gets drunk with Lissa.
Yes, that would be great fun. Is there like a craftsman's area, region, district of this town where?
Sure.
Okay. I'll suggest that we go and visit that area. It could be fun. But we could also do anything that you've been curious about trying in cities. I know this is your first time here, so if there's anything that you have a real craving for.
She looks thoughtful for a moment. She says, "Well, I don't have an enormous appetite for the food most people eat, but I have been curious about, what sorts of things people do eat here, and She brightens as she seems to have a thought. And she goes, "Oh, well, and that bordello we stopped by yesterday seemed very fascinating."
So why don't we go find some place to eat? And that's not the bordello. And I'll try.
They have food there too?
I am trying so hard not to make a joke about that.
So, does Lissa successfully avoid making a joke?
I probably, like, I'm smiling, but the grin probably freezes in that way where, like, you have a... if you're just in a context where it's inappropriate to bring up some really perverted joke and you just kind of smile instead. You know, everyone's been there. But I'll suggest that as we go to find someplace else to eat, that's not the bordello, I can tell you... Oh gosh, I could tell you a little bit more about what the fine people there are up to, and then it's up to you if you want to visit.
Apatia nods seriously and says, "Well, thank you. I appreciate you being my guide in this city. But yes, let's find some breakfast, something that we'd only get on this side of the sea, perhaps, and then we can go to the craftsman's district like you had proposed. I look forward to seeing what kinds of works your people produce."
They will pale in comparison to you. The works your people produce.
Smooth. This is not something Apatia will bring up, but it's probably something that Lissa would be thinking of. As far as you know, Imbi is still either asleep or occupying herself in the other room. Do you have any particular sort of intentions for Imbi's day?
Yeah, we should check on the kid. Yeah, so I imagine, like, as we're going out into the hall and starting to make our way into the city, both maybe one or the other of us will remember, oh yeah. Probably a patient.
It will definitely be Lissa.
Oh, it'll definitely be Lissa. Okay. Yeah, then as we walk by her door, I'm like, oh, let's check on the little one.
Apatia looks stricken and goes, "Oh, yes, of course." And goes to open the door. Imbi is awake, seated at the little, like, writing table in her room, and using a piece of charcoal to sketch on what looks like a piece of canvas sail. You get a brief look at what she is drawing, and it seems fairly abstract, but she, sort of looks up as you enter and immediately folds the canvas around the charcoal and puts it in a pocket of her coat.
Morning.
She stands and just kind of regards you.
I smile and warmly wave at her.
She gives you a small smile and a slight little diamach bow with the sort of hand over her heart, and just sort of regards you expectantly.
We're going to go get some breakfast. I'm going to try to find something that's only available on this side of the sea. Namely, if I had my druthers, it would be a porridge from boiled cornmeal. It sounds gross, but it's actually really good with cheese. Would you like to join us?
She looks thoughtful for a moment and then nods. Nods are actually pretty hard to describe effectively. She gives kind of a small but energetic nod, put it that way, and makes ready to follow you. She seems to have slept in her clothes, including her boots, and has nothing to gather up with her charcoal and canvas stowed. That's it. She's ready to go.
Do you need additional articles of clothing? We can pick you up anything that you need while you're in town.
She stares at you for a moment, looks at herself, shrugs.
Okay, let's go get food. And maybe, I don't know if they have that coffee stuff here. Romnet would know.
This may be something that you discover in the course of locating breakfast, but it is rarefied. You might be able to find some in Lid Manor, but none of the places that you are going to be searching for breakfast are going to have any on hand. With that, though, let us do a little bit of kind of time lapse here, and let's see if, oh boy, you could give me. All right, we're gonna let you combine stats here.
Okay.
It's gonna be a sense plus knowledge for 3 dice.
Thank you so much.
I was looking at it. I was like, "Oh, sense plus direction is 1 die." Oof.
Yeah.
As we discovered, I believe, last time.
Oh, still no matches.
What was your high die?
7. Lucky number 7.
So, also lucky is that you were looking for cornmeal porridge because, yeah. As it turns out, in addition to not really knowing to go where for what off the top of your head in Theret, you are maybe unsurprised but still unprepared to find that a lot of the places that would normally have, like food service for anyone other than the well-to-do aren't really open. Under siege conditions, they just can't get supplies. And it isn't until you do find some place that is advertising grits by whatever Taraxans call them. It is, almost under duress. They are, actually kind of like trying to convince people that like, no, it's going to be okay. We actually figured out like if you put cheese on it, it's pretty palatable. You should try some. Come on, it's pretty cheap. Even where are you going to find cheaper food service during the siege? Yeah, like they're basically making a pitch.
Yeah. Do they have bacon and eggs to go with it?
They do not. Siege conditions.
Yes. Seeking that they are under some kind of duress, and even though I may not know a lot about politics, I've picked up enough to realize that it's kind of economic strain for businesses like this, and they're just kind of trying to stay in business. So I pay them handsomely for grits and whatever else traditional breakfast food they have here that can really highlight Theret for some out-of-towners.
They have grits with cheese, salt, and pepper, which is not always given in less urban parts of Taraxis, the pepper in particular. They have bread that's basically like on the biscuit to scone continuum.
Yes.
They actually lack butter currently, but they've also used some of their flour to make something that Lissa may or may not be super familiar with because they're usually like a trail food. And I don't know how much traveling Lissa did before this campaign. They're making griddle cakes, which are basically pancakes.
Oh, cool.
For our real world audience. Now, they also don't have maple syrup for those, but they are offering to drizzle it with a modicum of honey.
Perfect. I will order all of that for the 3 of us with the request for extra cheese if they can spare it, and I will probably throw some extra coins at them. Not like literally pelt them with money, but
Because this isn't
make sure that they're probably getting paid for 5 meals, if not 6 meals.
Okay. They don't exactly have like a wait staff per se, but the worker who is fielding your request for extra cheese goes, "All right, well, cheese is the one thing we seem to have plenty of. Just holds up better, and turns out there was a fair bit in the city when the siege laid in, so easy enough to get currently. Happy to oblige." You get your very cheesy grits, biscuits, and your pancakes
With honey.
for everyone with honey. Yes, for everyone.
And I probably, like the kind of tired hostess who's like explaining everything that went wrong with the dinner that they have graciously cooked for everyone. I probably take on an air like that and explain to them, well, usually you would get this with bacon and eggs, or like usually you'd get like maple syrup for the pancakes, and usually there'd be some butter for the little biscuit scones here. So just imagine another savory element to this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you give basically that explanation, but a little bit more Taraxanized. Imbi has no particular reaction to this, but Apatia seems both impressed by everything that has come out and very impressed by whatever her imagination is telling her the like proper version that you're describing would be. And you pass a relatively quiet meal. Imbi eats a fair amount, which makes up for Apatia not eating very much. As you are finishing up and exiting, there's like a kind of alarmed, like ripple through the kind of like nearby area, people on this street and a few nearby. And it only takes a moment or two of looking around to see what has caught everyone's attention. There is something very large flying over the city fairly rapidly, just kind of taking a straight line like across, this side of the hill.
Well, first of all, I'm probably going to give Apatia and be a look kind of like we should probably follow that. Can I use my sight to see if it's miraculous in any way?
You can. It does not show any Octoritas. Without more time to examine it more closely, you can't be sure that there is like no miraculous aspect. So you know that it is not like any kind of noble. You know that it hasn't been imparted with an Octoritas like some of the creatures or people that you saw in the camp. Your understanding of miracles is that it still could have some kind of like other than perfectly natural features or functions. Like you can use a miracle to create a thing without leaving it with an Octoritas. That's still possible, and you suspect might be the case because as you are sort of scrutinizing it as it wings over, you thought it was lower when you first spotted it, but it's actually quite high up and just quite big. You're guessing that it's maybe like bear sized.
Not a dragon, a flying bear. Okay.
Let's say it was a flying bear. So it was bear sized.
That is accepted.
With commensurately large wings to be able to make that fly.
Yeah.
So it's a bear dragon?
That's what I'm getting from this whole conversation. I'm going to do, if I could like kind of double up on actions, I'm going to make myself glorious in hopes of attracting this flying thing's attention. I'm also going to shout at it, which, skip that. I'm going to make myself glorious. I'm going to try to call out to it, even though it's quite high up and it won't hear me. I'm also going to do a lesser creation of fury of the air in front of it to try to slow it down, because I can only assume that it might be an attack, and until I decipher otherwise, I'm going to just impede its progress until it realizes it needs to come talk to the shiny lady down below it.
Interesting. So you make yourself glorious and shout, and it starts to sort of like bank. It's not descending at all, but it is sort of like basically making a like medium tight circle. And so when you go ahead,
I said good. It's only promising that it's banking around back towards me.
When you create some fury in the air, it actually sort of like, seems to get a little bit of turbulence, and it sort of like climbs a bit and sort of completes its circle, kind of back in your direction, and starts to continue at least on its original trajectory.
Where does it seem to be heading? Do I have any idea based on the layout of the city that I've...
Well, if it keeps going in the direction that it's going in, it will pass kind of over the point where the southern wall meets the seaside. Presumably it came from, kind of the northeasterly portion of camp the siege camp.
So it's probably doing some sort of reconnaissance over the city.
That high up, you can't imagine what else it's doing.
So it's probably using some thermals from all the masonry, heat rising off the masonry in the city. I'm going to do another lesser creation of fury underneath it and just obliterate the thermals or try to get them angry. So instead of providing an updraft, they need to bring this thing down. How dare this thing
Interesting.
defy gravity?
This is a pretty oblique use of fury to my mind.
I would say that it's a lesser destruction of fury
Mm-mm.
rather than a creation.
Because of
Because you are cooling the thermals so that they will stop providing updraft.
I don't want to cool them. I want to get them angry at the thing that's mocking gravity and have them reverse their movement. Because, flight is effectively laughing at gravity.
Mm-hmm.
How dare this thing mock the air in which it flies? It's taking advantage of them.
There are countervailing forces that may wish to laugh back.
Roll command plus inspire. You do have a master die there, but do be aware that there is a minimum difficulty here.
Okay. 2 10s if I have a master die.
All right. Yeah, 2 10s. So you
I love
tap
this one.
in to the fury of the sort of air spirits in these thermals, and you immediately notice, in a way that you sort of haven't been as in tune with when you've done similar things in the past, like back in Calavan, that you can actually feel the texture of, sort of like their relationship to fury currently. And it turns out that thermals, or the air spirits in the thermals, are actually more than just okay with laughing at gravity. They are doing this because they are laughing at gravity. And so you kind of call an audible in your approach, and you point out that they are being used. That their exuberant rebellion has been co-opted by this unnatural flyer. And almost immediately, the air spirits in this vicinity just kind of like bank hard away from this thing in a circle, basically moving the thermals in the city, away from it in a way that is certainly not natural pattern of physics. And you see it sort of wobble and start to descend, and its response to this is to immediately begin flapping not for altitude, but for forward speed. It is trying to rocket seemingly into the water.
At this point, I'm going to look at Apatia and NB and be like, I'm trying to slow this thing down, but I can't do much help.
Imbi regards you for a second and is sort of like, can't really figure out what, if anything, she can do. Apatia looks thoughtful for a moment and then cocks her head and goes, well, I can try, and jumps up onto a nearby roof and regards the thing for a moment. She looks kind of like confident at first, and then goes to looking kind of consternated and then a little angry as she makes kind of like a little snapping gesture with one hand. And as the flyer is like just passing over the border into the harbor area, where there's kind of like the relatively narrow sort of boundary of the docks district before the harbor itself, it goes from flapping for speed into this, sort of shallow dive toward the water to just thrashing and convulsing, and it starts to drop like a stone.
Oh, she's such an adorable badass. So is it dropping like still on our side of the wall, or is it just past it?
It is still on your side of the wall. What is unclear is what it is above. It could be a warehouse, it could be ships, it could be water.
I'm gonna do a lesser creation of fury again and be like, Hey, you can go back to laughing at gravity and at this thing that has co-opted your rebellion. Make it fall softly.
The air spirits are like not enthusiastic about this, but they kind of do it. It doesn't seem to make too much of a difference though, because it for all that you can tell, it's having some sort of major seizure as it is plummeting, and there isn't too much that air spirits in their normal functioning can really do to arrest this. That, you know, so some minor effect perhaps, and you lose sight of it as it plummets. Presumably it hits somewhere, but you're far enough away that you can't really be sure about much.
I'm gonna give a look to NB and Apatia where she is glamorously on the roof secretly. I wish I could also spring to a rooftop with equal grace.
Secretly?
Not so secretly. You're right. I'm gonna start sprinting in the direction of where it seemed to be falling, as fast as I can.
All right. So you begin running, and it doesn't take you very long to arrive. It is relatively easy to find where it fell, and the answer to that is between two of the sort of larger piers in the docks. It fell into sort of like the boundary zone between like the relatively shallow water near the shore and the deeper water that the ships can stay in out near the end of the pier. And by the time you get there, there's sort of like a crowd watching that is a little bit a ways from the dock workers and sailors who are using poles and ropes to fish it and a couple of the pieces that came off of it out of the water.
Excellent. So pieces came off of it. Is it in any way living, conscious? Like, what am I looking at?
You seem to be looking at a dead thing. What exactly the thing is, you can't entirely be sure. There is fur. There are also feathers, and you think you see scales. Not helped by the fact that it is a little bit mangled by its impact and by the rough handling that it has received while you were in transit. It is probably not a word or a concept that exists in Taraxis or the Taraxan language, but we as humans on Earth might recognize it as a kind of chimera. You have to guess that its flight was not purely physical at any point.
Yeah, so which means that whatever reconnaissance it was able to collect while flying, it presumably collected. I'll see if the folks who are trying to, well, first of all, I'm going to try to help them because I'm strong. But I'm also going to build amicable conversation with them and see if they'd be willing to put this in a cart and cover it so it can't see anything, as something to bring to the Merchant Council.
You know, you managed to sort of insinuate yourself into some of the work going on and to make this suggestion. And while you are a party to some of the arrangements for carting it away, a liveried messenger runs up, very red-faced and out of breath, and gives you like a bow that sort of turns into like having her hands on her knees and kind of trying to catch her breath. Lady Lissa, Duchess of Fury, that's you, right?
Yeah, that's me. Hi, nice to meet you. What's your name?
You can call me Tazzy, milady. I've been sent to summon you before the Merchants' Council. Their meeting is just getting started, and well, whatever it is there caused a real big commotion, and they rather appreciate your expertise, I gather.
Yeah. You don't need to refer to me as milady, just Lissa. Nice to meet you, Tazzy. Do I look presentable? We were just out getting breakfast when this thing appeared. So I'm kind of. Is there anything amiss?
She, sort of having caught her breath a little bit, stands up a little straighter and gives you a bit of a critical eye and goes, well, milady, I think that they'd rather have you there quickly than more presentable.
Oh, okay. That's fair.
How diplomatic.
Has Apatia and or NB caught up with me, or were they always with me the whole time, leaping agilely from rooftop to rooftop?
They brought up the rear a little bit because Apatia sort of kept pace with NB, who has shorter legs.
Mm-hmm.
And so they rolled up a couple minutes ago, just before Tazzy arrived, and have been watching your exchange with her from off to one side.
Okay. My friends will be coming with me too, as I believe Apatia in particular had a bit more of a experience with this one. So her expertise will be greatly valued if she's comfortable coming with me, and I direct that as a question to Apatia and NB by extension.
Apatia glances rapidly back and forth between you and Tazzy for a moment or two, and then goes, "Oh, well, if I can be of help, but I'm not much of a public speaker." And attempts to look collected. Imbi, for her part, is pretty impassive.
Well, I could use your help. You were amazing. You're the one that brought this thing down and probably helped prevent it from getting more information. So thank you.
Apatia looks markedly pleased with herself and says, "Of course, what are friends for?" And gives you that sharp-toothed smile that Tazzy starts by recoiling from, and then realizes that this is hardly diplomatic and tries to play it off, but you're not sure as what, and she eventually just sputters a bit, turns on her heel, and says, "All right, if you'll follow me this way, then I'll take you to the council chambers."
Happily. Can I do a lesser creation of Furious Joy, like my little caffeine trick for her, because she seems to be out of breath?
You can. It seems to revitalize her some.
Okay, and then I'll follow her.
Yeah, you get the feeling that she was already in a hurry when she was headed to your last known location and then had to run after you to get here.
Can I tip her? Tazzy, do you accept tips? I know that you had to sprint after me. I'm very sorry. I'm not playing hard to get, I promise. I'm actually quite the opposite.
She doesn't turn around, but you do see her shoulders stiffen, and she replies with as much grace as she can, "I assure you, my lady, that I am paid for my services by the Merchant Council, and you needn't worry about it."
Well, thank you, Tazzy. It's been a delight to meet you, and you are clearly very efficient and dedicated to your job, and that's something I admire.
Yes, thank you, milady.
Just stop with the milady, Lissa.
I most certainly will not, milady.
I guess milady Tazzy then. Thank you.
You're not sure. There's a little like twitch or hitch in her shoulders, and you don't hear anything. You're hoping that it's not a sob.
Just want to make her life better. Oh, poor Tazzy.
Some people stand on propriety, and Lissa is just not the interaction they want to have. It's their malfunction. Lissa's delightful. So we will leave Lissa, Apatia, and Imbi following Tazzy to the council chambers for the time being, and check back in over in Fermata with Romnet and Dosk. And now, when we last left you, I believe we had emerged from the staircase, having intervened on Asha's behalf. He's now being detained rather than hucked into the well for repairs, whatever that would have meant. And You now have the knowledge that he's been receiving quite a number of letters, seemingly from Romnet, that have given him a rather fanciful view of events surrounding the Prophet of the Obsidian God of late, and that he has kept these in his home. Now, originally, when you were leaving the manifestation and he interrupted you, you were on your way to confront Ia. So kind of both of those things are sort of on your Informata docket, but you get to decide in what order and with what urgency, or how you wish to proceed with them. Or, of course, since this is a tabletop role-playing game, you could decide to go to a strip club and derail the rest of the session.
Bordello.
We narrowly avoided the brunch buffet at the Bordello, so I think we should stay more or less on track here.
I think that our first stop, then, is to collect the letters.
I think so. If there's a conspiracy afoot, then there could be other people trying to get those before we can. So we may want to procure them with all due haste. Do we know where Asha's place is? Does Romnet remember the initial meeting between the two of them before all the weird stuff he doesn't remember started happening?
Do I?
I would presume that you could find his place.
That seems reasonable.
So yeah, I think we make for Asha's place.
Yeah. Asha's place is a modest but comfortable townhouse in the quiet city, sort of tucked in a little bit of a corner neighborhood, a fair ways away from both the manifestation and the Gatehouse Plaza, and you make your way over there fairly directly without too much in the way of distraction or slowdown. And Romnet, you sort of glance up and down the street, glance at the house, and this is the place. You've got it. Obviously, no one is home, but the door is not secured in any way. It is actually relatively uncommon for Mountain homes to have anything more sophisticated than like a door bar for when you're like home in terms of locking mechanisms. You were able to enter without any undue muss or fuss. Romnet, yes. If I could get a sense plus sight from you.
Yes.
That's 5 dice.
Indeed. One of us has to be sensible. 3 sevens.
All right.
Let the record show it will never be me who is sensible.
There is, as you are entering, you almost don't spot it, but you notice that there is actually what appears to be a letter on the ground in sort of the entryway, kind of underfoot, as though it were slid beneath the door. This one is still folded and sealed. It does not seem that Asha had received it by the time he left.
Well, let's have a look.
Pick it up. The seal on it is definitely yours, in the same color wax that you have in your desk. And when you break it open and look at the letter, this looks very much like your handwriting, though in this case it's maybe a little on the shaky side. And it starts off with a "Dearest Asha," and then goes on to very sort of cryptically say, "Their leash gets ever shorter, and I worry that before long it will become inescapable." The handwriting gets a little less controlled at this point. It says, "I know you are doing your best, but please." And then the last bit is in sort of block capitals. It says, "Help me." And then it has a somewhat lopsided version of your signature at the bottom.
Well, that's only entirely worrying.
This might be too sideways, but can I feel the impression of part of the wax or the ink and use a divination of nothing to feel the seal or the pen that is no longer there?
Boy, that is pretty oblique.
Alternatively,
I think I can justify the seal better because it is like literally an impression. It is like a something stamped into wax is literally a trace of a thing that's not there.
Yeah,
the pen's more of a reach.
The thing about it is that you can use a divination of nothing to get the
Information about nothingness, right?
right. Well, I was gonna say you could get the precise shape of the seal, kind of
Sure.
by inference. That wouldn't really help you very much, I don't think. It wouldn't give you new
No.
information because you can just look at the seal.
No, for sure, for sure. I'm trying to think what the question would be if I were to simply ask the realm.
WTF.
Yeah. WTF. I think I do perhaps attempt to ask WRTF, which Romnet the fuck. So like, can I use a realm divination to try and see the person who made these markings, this impression, who did this writing?
Interesting. So I believe that the letter of the law we haven't really been holding to, so I'm not gonna hold you to it tight here. For lesser divinations of realm is to ask a question. So if I were to put it to you, what the specific question you're asking is, would it be fair to say it's who stamped this seal?
Yeah.
Okay. Give me knowledge plus eerie is 4 dice for you.
Okay. I can pick up what you're putting down. Okay. That is 2 7s.
You get an answer to this question that doesn't seem to make sense, but you are able to sort of process it sort of at enough of an arm's length that it doesn't disconcert you as it might have, because there is an identity here, but it is beyond the reach of your divination, seemingly because the person responsible, their identity has been obliterated.
And this is one of those things where I know that's true, even though I probably have a lot of questions about what it means.
Yeah,
your identity
you're not quite sure, but that's the sense you come away with, and it's distinct from having their identity hidden. The sense that you get is that at some point, and you're not sure that it's necessarily recent, who or whatever stamped this thing, their identity was destroyed. It just doesn't exist. It's like your divination returned an error.
So
sure,
but an informative one.
This raises the interesting point of, if the identity has been rendered a nullity.
Yeah, do I have any information about this blank space where an identity would be that I can feel because of my domain? And this would be more domain than realm.
Yeah, that's a good question. I
take no credit for it, but it is a good question.
Interesting.
Thanks,
You're welcome.
Okay, so we're going to do this in a little bit of a sequence, because you could get a decent amount of information here, but it's definitely in stages. So first, as you start to investigate this missing identity in a sort of miraculous sense, give me a sense plus scrutinize. That's 4 dice.
Alrighty. That is 2 2s.
The first thing is that this absence is, well, the word that comes to mind is ongoing. If you remove a stone from a building and you pitch it across the way, there's just a hole there. The stone has been removed, but the sense that you get here is that this identity is always removed, that there is some quality of it that is perpetually in the process of becoming absent. Your head starts to hurt. Go ahead and also give me a knowledge plus lore. This is going to be 7 dice, and it is a little bit of a slantwise use of the lore skill, but I feel like it's reasonably appropriate.
You know what this makes me think of?
I don't.
The eternal deaths.
I was gonna ask, that was gonna be my next question.
So you do know what I was thinking of.
I actually do. I was wrong. I shouldn't have assumed. Does this emotionally feel like when I was sounding for deaths in Fermata and I discovered eternal deaths and couldn't investigate too much further into what that meant?
It does. It reminds you strongly of it.
Great. That's good news.
Maybe.
In fact,
that's news anyway.
Yeah. Well, okay. We got to roll. Let's look at the world in front of us, and then we'll worry about the world behind the world. So those 7 dice, I just had 1 pair. It was a pair of sexes.
So in addition to connecting up the sensation of those eternal deaths and this sort of permanent absence, you also, in sort of examining it in light of your recollection there, become pretty sure that whoever it was that stamped this is one of those eternally death folks. Who or whatever those eternal deaths were, one of them is the identity of the entity that stamped this letter.
Well, that's awkward.
Having this more than a little eerie, possibly terrifying impression fresh in my mind, if I use the site on Romnet, do I see any trace of this entity around or about or within him?
That is very
entity,
interesting.
Non-entity could be a better word, but that's what I'm looking for. So I'm probably conveying what I'm saying, and I'm probably conveying what I now know, and I'm giving him a strange look while I'm doing it.
You don't see any sign of it, no. Not with mortal sight, not with the sight.
Right. So a thing masquerading as you, I'm saying to him, is eternally
is ongoingly dying. That's not reassuring at all.
No, not a bit. That seems like perhaps the worst possible use for eternity.
I mean, if you're using it for yourself.
Well, true enough.
After all, if you emerge from the well, you'll be prepared.
Having emerged from the well myself and having none of my basic problems solved. I do have a souvenir, though. Well, so I see. Are we finding? Let's look around for more letters. I guess my question is going to be, as we look, does Romnet remember any? Like, does any of this even refer to events that happened to him that he can recall? Right? Is there any kernel of truth, or is this just like a complete parallel reality?
As you proceed into the house, it's not even a matter of searching it out. There is a like multi-purpose kind of room that has been set up primarily as like a study, and there is a desk in that room that has very orderly stacks of these letters, maybe 4 or 5 dozen of them that have
50 to 60 letters.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
I admire your restraint in not tacking them up to a conspiracy on board. Okay.
Yeah, no, they seem to be organized about 10 to a stack, with the sort of earliest letter in the stack on top and the more recent on the bottom, kind of in order of date. And each stack, the first letters to be received are furthest right, and then the next stack is more recent, and the next stack is more recent.
And apparently a prodigious correspondent.
Apparently. And an equally prodigious forgetter of corresponding. I'm sorry, I'm not at my best rhetorically. This is... I don't know what I expected to find, but it wasn't quite this. So then I asked, does any of this ring true? Does any of this describe things that, although I know you didn't write it, that you could have written? Memories you have, events that occurred?
Hey,
anything?
Adam.
Yeah. So give me sense scrutinize for 4 dice.
Because I'm untrained and scrutinized. That is a 9 or a 10 high.
There are in the earlier letters a couple of admittedly general references to things that you do remember being elements of your interactions with Asha, a particular place where you got drinks, particular, sort of joke or conversational topic, but nothing overly specific. And beyond that, all you can really say is that, yeah, these letters are written on paper very like that you have for correspondence kind of in your workspaces. Could plausibly be an ink that you've used in the past couple of months. The handwriting and apparent writing implement are close matches to your own. The seal is indistinguishable from yours and uses the same kind of wax that you do. Like, they seem to be forgeries of some kind, as you have no recollection of ever writing any letter to Asha, much less this mini, much less any of the specific letters that you're looking at here. But they are relatively detailed and conscientious forgeries. Alternatively, it is not impossible, as you do have experience losing control of your faculties, that you wrote these while under the influence of something else or being controlled by something else, but you don't think that you've really lost time in that way.
And also, I've been out of Fermata.
Indeed. Yeah, there are a bunch of things that don't really match up with the hypothesis that you did this while not in your right mind. That would be pretty far-fetched, you think?
Yeah, even when you're not in control of yourself, you don't lose time, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I am aware. I am just unable to influence my own actions, is my understanding.
Right. You're in the car. You're just not driving.
The only time that you've lost time... The only time you've lost time was when seemingly all of Fermata lost time.
Right. There was a blip.
Since combing through all of these is going to take a moment, we're going to hop back over to Lissa and company. So, back over in Theret. Lissa, Apatia, and Imbi have been led to the council chambers. This is a, not in absolute terms, large building for Theret. It's got a smaller footprint than Lid Manor, but it's quite tall, with these sort of grandiose pillars and all of this imposing stone, and it's got sort of vertical banners hanging of each of the merchant houses in Theret, with pride of place given to the most prominent near the entrance, and then kind of winding around the sides as well, each banner hanging between two pillars. And the entrance has kind of an honor guard outside of it, but otherwise, for all of that, it is a sort of imposing and ostentatious structure in a prominent part of town. Business seems to go by as usual outside of it. No one seems to pay it too much mind exactly, but it is clear from the sort of carriage yard off to one side that the Merchants Council is in session. You are led in by Tazzy, who has recovered, her breath and composure, and the outer doors at this time are open. There's a bit of an antechamber, and there are stairs in the antechamber up to what you presume to be like an observation gallery for people who wish to watch the proceedings of the Merchants Council. But you are brought in through the internal double doors are closed. Tazzy walks up and gives some sort of nonverbal signal to the two guards there, who swing the doors open with a little bit of an ostentatious, sort of thump of their halberd staffs, and you are looking into what is essentially a, large meeting room, not that dissimilar from the one that you were recently in Lid Manor. Big difference being that the rectangular table is very large and it's hollow. It's more like the outline of the rectangle is the table. And in the middle, there is a spot for, sort of a speaker to address the assembly. And there is currently no one seated along the far side of the table. The fact that far wall has colors of Theret and the various merchant families hanging from it gives you the impression that it's probably been a while, if ever, that anyone has been seated on that side. This gives the effect of there being something of a horseshoe, roughly, sort of facing itself on the three sides, and with the area in the middle that someone can stand in to address them. You can see the gallery. It's kept in, less bright lighting, just some lamps and candles here and there, and it doesn't seem to be packed, though there are a few people up there. And the whole thing sort of starts where you are, and you'd have to take steps up to the table and then sort of back down into the speaking area if you were to approach it. While you are taking this in at a glance, Tazzy steps in and puts on a far more formal and declarative voice than you've heard from her before, and says, "Introducing at the council's summon, Lady Lissa, the Duchess of Fury, and her divine companions." And she gives sort of a flourishing bow that indicates that you should proceed past her into the chamber.
I do, but I kind of gesture to Paisha and be like, this is Apatia, and this is NB. They're my friends. Hi.
You just catch out of the corner of your eye. You can see where Melly and Croesus and a small part of their retinue are set up, sort of on what is for you the left side of the table, kind of near the side that you're on. And you think you see Croesus roll his eyes. But
congratulations on getting a reaction out of him.
I resist the urge to smile at Uncle Melly, but I kind of give him a glance, and the corners of my lips kind of twitch upwards, but I realize he probably does not want overt attention from me in front of the present company, because I've been here. Haven't been here before, but I've been here before.
So as you make the introductions and kind of step into the chamber, a relatively younger man for this particular august body, which means that he seems to be in like maybe his late 30s, early 40s, stands up. He's wearing house colors, though you don't recognize the house, and he intones as though sort of combination clergy and secretary. "Let it be entered into the logs of this meeting that the Duchess of Fury and her companions have attended the call of the Merchants' Council for the organization of war against the besieging army. Let the Duchess please take the floor." And he makes a slightly deferential gesture toward kind of the recessed area that you could address the assembly from.
Hi. Please call me Lissa. So I have reason to believe that the city was just surveilled by the enemy. The pieces were, well, first, before I get to what happened of the pieces, despite my best efforts, ultimately Apatia was the one to fell the beast before hopefully could gain full reconnaissance. The pieces are being fished out at the pier by some good folk, and they've already arranged to have it carted here if you would like further inspection. I don't know if you have any experts in that field amongst your company, but you will find it is a creature that's been assembled from multiple creatures. And through miraculous means, I believe that the enemy now has information about the layout and shape and defenses of the portion of the city over which it was able to fly before we intervened.
There is a moment of seemingly processing time as you finish saying this, and the man who spoke before in the unfamiliar colors says, Let the new threat be entered into the war plan, a flying creature of combined other creatures. We officially thank, and he makes it sort of a question as he looks around and doesn't see anybody objecting, our noble friends for their defense of the city from this reconnaissance, and implore the Duchess of Fury what her strategic recommendations regarding the army camped outside our walls might be, so that it may be taken under advisement by the war leaders of the city.
I very subtly as I can get, incline my head toward. Yes. Very subtly from Melissa's perspective, incline my head towards where Uncle Meliek is seated, but without looking at him, and I say, well, I'm of the opinion that if they have information about the lay of the land here, a sortie may be the ideal choice of action against the enemy. If my companions and I, or companion and I quickly exclude Indy from my gesture, because I haven't really had that conversation with her yet. We can create a distraction on one end of the wall, while the sortie forms a pincher movement on the other side. And thereby we could take the fight to them before they have the chance to scale our walls and do some damage to their numbers. During the visitation from Dosk and myself, Dosk Tyr, and I look at, oh gosh, why am I blanking on his name? Yes. I look at him pointedly at that when I say Dosk's full name. When we were doing reconnaissance, we discovered that they're in the process of building siege engines, so taking a more aggressive front may be advisable. I look very uncomfortable.
Yeah, I probably should have had you do this at the very beginning, but go ahead and roll Charm plus Graces, 5 dice.
Don't fail me.
You haven't used your luck reroll yet.
That's true. Okay. I have a pair of 2s. I'm just going to stick with that. I'm going to save the luck reroll for when I don't have a pair.
Well, and the language on the luck reroll is that you may reroll a pool when no matches show up. So if you got a match.
You can't. Okay, good.
Yeah. You are a little bit halting. I mean, I think you did a pretty good job there representing how Lissa addresses, the body, but you do seem to be able to avoid any offense, or putting your foot in your mouth or anything. You float Melly's suggestion, or at least report of a popular idea for a sortie, and there is indeed a small murmur that runs through the assembled councilmen and women.
As I hear that, can I belatedly make myself glorious? Having forgotten that, I am kind of a nobilis here in front of the Merchants' Council, even if I feel awkward, I am divine.
Yes.
So basically, this is you were reminding yourself that you were glorious?
Yeah. I don't like this setting.
It's the gloriousness equivalent of remembering to smile only after you finish talking. So.
Yeah.
You make yourself glorious, and the murmur around the table sort of dies out as people sort of take another look at you in light of this. But you do hear a little faintly, as it's from the sort of gallery, a familiar voice saying, "Lo, the Obsidian One's eyes turn upon us." And yeah, it's Brother Umber is watching this from the gallery somewhere.
Can I make his, what is he wearing?
You can't see him from here. He's up in the gallery. He's not well lit.
Can I make his clothes angry at him?
Okay, well, here's the thing. It's going to be a sense plus sight to target the right person.
Yeah, that, odds are not in my favor for causing a wardrobe malfunction in front of the up and up of Theret. I just kind of...
That made me think that you were trying to give him a nip slip.
I was not a nip slip, just, like the equivalent of having your pants seem abruptly burst open while you're seated comfortably, that sort of thing.
Sure. No, that makes more sense. It was along the lines of what I was originally thinking of, but just the use of the phrase wardrobe malfunction.
I'm just going to ignore him for now, because I can't really target where he's coming from.
Immediately, the Merchants Council resumes sort of their conversation, and in this case, it's a little less formalized. You're left to kind of maintain your position on the little speaker's dais as they confer, sort of both within house entourages and with sort of their neighbors. Eventually, the man who's done most of the calling to order and proceedings stands and makes a gesture, and everyone sort of quiets slowly. And he says, "Before this decision can be made, we must do a formal marshal of our forces. Each house, please, announce the forces you can commit to a sortie and their disposition." And he starts off on one end, and each representative of each house rattles off a number and type of troops, sometimes several. And while it is adding up, you can't help but feel like it's a smaller amount than you'd really like. Most of the houses are offering a few hundred to maybe 1,000 men at arms, pretty well equipped, and they speak highly of their skill, but you and anyone else in Taraxis who's paying attention knows that none of these people will have been in a pitched battle. It's been generations since there's been one. And as it goes around, you're getting the picture of kind of a relative hodgepodge. Pikemen and halberdiers are fairly common. Archers and crossbowmen are probably the second category. But then there's just there's some cavalry, there's some more specialized, hand weapons, there's large companies, small companies, well-organized, sort of amorphous. There's no consistency. There's no citywide strategy for who to muster, how, and how to arm them. It's every house's sort of resources being called to bear in whatever way that house can manage it swiftly and within their own kind of understanding of what they can offer and benefit from. And by the end of the roll call, if your math is correct and their estimates are correct of their forces, have tallied up just shy of 10,000, mostly very well armed and armored and outfitted, but probably not especially experienced or organized troops. Against the sieging force, they will be outnumbered probably just over 10 to 1. Mm-hmm. And your trip through the camp has led you to believe that things like morale are not going to be an issue for the other side. Mm-hmm. That said, a poorly organized army of even semi-professional soldiers stands a good chance of being more organized than the force camped outside the walls. And there's reason to believe they won't be expecting an attack.
I'm gonna run with an idea Des had last session here.
Oh God, what did I do?
Oh, and nothing so crazy as a weapon of mass destruction this time. You may be relieved to know just child involvement and more.
Oh, child soldiers, great. God.
Yeah.
Dear listeners, I'm not as bad a person in person, I promise.
I'm going to, addressing the council, be like, I appreciate your resolve and commitment to this force. I think upon hearing what each of you are able to offer, that the element of surprise may be a useful tool in securing our victory. And that way, do you mind if I have a word with my companions real quick? I want to make sure that we adequately pool our divine abilities. I can assure you we're an army in our own right, and we'll be managing one side of the pincher movement with the sortie force. And when I say that, I'm going to do a ghost miracle and try to make the likeness of Mavia appear all tentacled around me.
Ooh.
I'm not going to poke the bear. I'm just going to
Sure.
create a miraculous image of the bear around me.
Yeah. Boy, I really want that to have a role, but it seems like it would be Command Intimidate, which doesn't seem like exactly what you're going at.
I want to do like more of inspiring them that this kind of terrifying force is at their disposal.
Okay, yeah, roll a Command Inspire.
What could possibly go wrong?
Oh, just 2 1s this time, so not the best roll, but it's still a match.
A ripple of murmuring goes around, but nothing terribly audible to you, and you were presumably also turning to Apacia and Imbi at this point.
Yeah.
Imbi, for her part, does a small wave gesture with her hand, and immediately all sound is cut off around the 3 of you.
Perfect. Imbi, I hate to ask this of you because frankly, we're just getting to know each other. But I hope you can see the number of lives at stake here. Could you do something like this from a safe distance, not involved in whatever skirmish is going to occur, for the numbers you just heard?
She looks thoughtful for a moment, closes her eyes, almost seems her lips don't quite move, but she almost seems to be like counting silently in her head. And she nods once slowly.
I could hug you right now. I don't know if that's the right thing to do in front of the current company. So I'm just going to give you a rain check because they may be confused. But know that you're appreciated and thank you. And I'll try not to make a habit of asking such big asks of you in the future.
So while you are saying the bit about the hug, Apacia has already like patted her on the head.
Oh. My arm briefly kind of extends towards her like, oh my gosh, I want to do something, but I resist the urge and be like, rain check for hug, and I will buy you whatever you want from the city.
That's a dangerously open promise.
She gives you almost the exact same nod as the previous one in acknowledgement of this, and then sort of does her little hand wave again, and you can hear the space around you once more.
The gracious visitors from the goddess Nyx have provided us with a boon as we go into this conflict, and we'll be able to hide the approach or conceal the sounds made of the approach of the sortie crew that your families have so generously loaned to our cause.
Never mind that it's also their cause.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
it was
I think
a mutual all.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, all of us here.
Yes.
But there is another small ripple of murmuring, but of course they all just saw Imbi drop a little shroud of silence over the 3 of you, so
proof of concept.
Yeah, they aren't skeptical, and the sort of manager of the proceedings stands once more and says, "Here. We thank our visitors for their dedication to assisting us against this otherworldly threat. And now, I believe, is the time for a council vote. Shall we, on the morrow, sortie from these walls in hopes of breaking or disrupting the siege with which we have been inflicted? All in favor, stand and say aye."
I reach for Apacia's hand.
She takes it. And slowly, it's not quite a unanimous vote, but certainly all of the houses that you remember having large numbers of troops in the roll call vote in favor. It appears that the sortie will take place, and in a relatively efficient little bit of sort of motions and seconds, the plan carries that the sortie will take place at first light the following day, and that officially Creus's Tyr will be in charge of the forces, but that the command structure of the soldiers on the ground will actually be more or less their normal chains of command, with Creus having won the honor of being the guy who gets to wear the fancy hat. And so all of that having been wrapped up rather solemnly, meeting facilitator stands once again and says, "Here be it resolved then that in the defense of Theret all those present here did commit their forces to a sortie of our entire force, less a skeleton defense crew tomorrow, with the aid of our divine benefactors who have volunteered themselves for a distraction force to the north. The objective is to break through the battle lines and open a corridor for supply, and if the opportunity should show itself, to break the siege entire. May the gods be with us tomorrow, and until then, this meeting is adjourned."
Oh, I just had one more thing I wanted to add real fast. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that you were going to wrap things up. I just wanted to include Dosk Tyr and Ramnut, and let you know that in addition to the sortie force, they're corresponding with the Obsidian God themselves for a more aggressive offense in the homeworld of our intruders through miraculous means that should cut any further conflict, Obsidian God willing, short.
You had the undivided attention of everybody there as you interrupted the adjournment of the meeting. And at this news, there's a small murmur, and Creus looks like he bit into a lemon.
Good.
I smile at him.
You can't help but notice that Uncle Melly is behind him, maintaining a serious and decorous posture, but trying to fight down a smirk. And at that point, the facilitator clears his throat and says, "Thank you, Duchess, for adding to our understanding of the situation. And with that," he pauses to see if you're
I give him 2 thumbs up and a smile.
"This meeting is adjourned. Rest well, for on the morrow we ride." And before a general cheer or anything can go up, you hear Brother Umber from the gallery again goes, "For the glory of the Obsidian God!"
Oh.
And everybody sort of turns briefly and looks up, and there's a general shake of heads as everybody starts to file out. And that is where we'll leave Lissa and company. Dosk and Ramnet have spent the intervening time doing their survey of the letters in Asha's home that we already mostly know kind of the results of. But, you've basically seen the progress from just kind of like real generic kind of friendly correspondence. And most of these letters are fairly short, to kind of ominous updates on vaguely ungood things going on, to alarmed and panicky missives, all the way through the kind of more recent, very urgent pleas for rescue. Dosk, you and Lissa, as well as Mott themselves, are all cast quite villainously when you come up in these, but as far as these letters are concerned, Dosk, you are very much kind of the Darth Vader here. And, sort of as you are working your way through these and sharing your findings with each other, in a brief pause, you actually hear something that registers after just a moment as
A letter being slipped under a door.
something being slid under the door. And that's where we'll end our session.
Please, Mr. Postman.
Saying everybody could have one mortal experience point.
Right.
Yay!
Emphasis mortal.
Feeling very mortal right about now. Yeah.
Does conclude this session of Dice Punks. So thanks as always for joining us, players and listeners alike. I hope both sides of that coin enjoyed it as much as I did, and that everyone will join us again next time. If you're hearing us now, then you probably know where to listen to this, but we can be found almost any place one can listen to podcasts, as well as on the wider web at dicepunks.com and on Twitter as @dicepunks. With that, I think we're ready to say farewell. So say goodbye to the kind folks at home, players.
Thanks for listening, and try to know whether you're the villain before it escalates to an attempted stabbing, if possible.
Thanks for listening, everyone, and be true to yourself, even if it means kind of bumbling through a very prestigious meeting.
Thanks for listening, folks, and don't believe everything you
Well said. Thanks for listening, and as the poet once said, "'Cause you're fighting an endless war, hunting a miracle. Is it worth dying for, or are you blinded by it all?" Thank you, dear listeners, for tuning in, and stick around through the admin stuff. There's a Lissa's line waiting for you at the end of it. The songs in this episode, theme of the Dice Punks and its acoustic version, as well as the cliffhanger fanfare, were written and recorded by the Regal of Nothing himself, Drew. Cover art is by Joanne, who has appeared on the podcast now and again. Check out her work around the internet, where she goes by Anything So's Embroidery. She's also been helping with the edits a lot lately, so shout out to Joanne. Thank you very much. Site design and graphics for dicepunks.com are by Robin, the player behind Lissa, the irrepressible Duchess of Fury. Rain and the one-roll engine it runs on were created by Greg Stolze, who can be found in a frankly astonishing number of cool places, but I'll point you toward gregstolze.com. Nobilis was created by Jenna Catherine Moran and can be found alongside much of her other really intriguing work, both in and outside of tabletop role-playing, at afaransunlessland.wordpress.com. Links to both systems and authors can be found on the Punk Grimoire section of our website, dicepunks.com. Thanks so much for listening. If you like what you heard, well, that's reward enough on its own, really, but if you're so inclined, you can help us out by rating and reviewing us wherever you listen to us, telling your friends who you think would like us to give us a listen, and even by heading over to our Patreon at patreon.com/dicepunks. We have fun rewards available to backers, including a patron-only Discord and access to the Dice Peaks after show for episodes 1 and following. Regardless, we hope you'll tune in again, and until then, remember, subtlety is for cowards.
Every good blacksmith has some trusted tools of the trade. Electo, of course, is my most favored tool. She reminds me that there's a fine line between creation and destruction, and that no work is ever really complete. She was one of the first things that I made under Varric's guidance. How many times have I replaced her handle or head? Even I don't know. She's likely a completely new hammer by this time. We're made in peace until achieving a new whole, but I don't feel whole without her. It's just Electo, myself, and maybe, I guess. Of course, Electo also reminds me of the best parts of being a blacksmith. First I get things nice and hot, and then I bang them.